I'm going to start off by just explaining the latest update. And from the CRL Commission, I spoke to them yesterday, and then I'm going to be showing some video clips of what they themselves have said and then commenting on that so that you can form an objective opinion about that. Now, yesterday, they told me that they are currently appointing what they call a Section 22 committee to consult all the provinces on the regulation of religious practitioners. They stressed that they didn't want to regulate religion, but they wanted to regulate religious practitioners. But that means your pastor, and I don't know where that will stop. And if they can regulate your pastor, I think they can also regulate what happens in your church. They have appointed a man by the name of Musa Gulu, who you will hear from shortly, as the chairperson, and the rest of the committee is going to be announced soon, but we must all be ready to speak up later this year when they go to each province to consult on the whole question of regulation of religion. Now, I think that we have to first ask the question of why is a Christian pastor different from a medical doctor or an engineer, which is regulated by the state? And the very simple answer that I give to that, which I think is important to educate all Christians about, is that there are 3 scriptures which explain the governance of the church. Matthew 18, 1 Timothy 3, and 1 Corinthians 5 and 6. All of these 3 scriptures say the same thing, which is that the church is to be regulated and controlled by other Christian believers. It is not to have any power from anybody else who is not a Christian believer. Now, the state is something that is open to people who are not Christian believers. So as soon as you give the state the power to regulate the church, then you are allowing unbelievers power over the church, which is then contrary to the scriptures. Now, that is the first problem. The second problem is that how is the state to know who is a genuine Christian believer and who is a false Christian believer? Well, the state has absolutely no way to know that. Only Christians can answer that question. So all that the state can do is to provide a space in which everybody has freedom of religion and freedom of association. They say that they are just wanting to create a peer review system so that we can all have denominations which would be registered with the state and thus would then regulate themselves. But the difficulty is that we as Christians want to associate with other people who we regard as real Christians. And they have already appointed people onto this committee who biblical Christians might not want to be in the same group with, or might not agree with, might not accept that they are real Christians. And those people would be the type of people that the government would appoint to such regulation. This appears to be a problem, and you will hear in the video later some of the political comments that the chairperson of this committee for the Christian sector has made, and you can decide whether you agree with that or not. But so now this is extremely concerning, and I think that I would like to ask the the editor to now put on the chairperson of the CRL Commission to listen to what she is proposing.
I recall when you were at the Commission before, you led an investigation into different church groups or groups that claim to be religious leaders. This is very difficult language sometimes. And some of them were involved in abuses. There were very public hearings. Are you going to continue those investigations? You in fact, seem to be suggesting that religious groups should almost police themselves, or they should police each other rather. There should be a peer review.
We are saying there should be a peer review, like you have a peer review for lawyers, for doctors, for social workers, for teachers, for everyone. You need a system that says we want to open up a church, or you want to be a religious leader, you apply first. We test if you don't have an unusual history. The peer review committee will sit down and assess each person, grant them a license to run a church, because you are exposed to children, we're exposed to women, we're exposed to everyone. Have you been checked against the register of offenders? And then they will give you the license as the peer review committee. And then if you do anything wrong, then people can come to the peer review committee and report you, or the media can report, and then there'll be an investigation. And if it's found that you are doing something wrong, that is illegal at times, they will help the victims through the system. But also you, the religious leader, will have to be suspended or fired, as the case may be, like it happens with all professions. We are saying we're relying on Section 22 of the Constitution that says you can choose your career, you can choose your profession or your trade, but you may be regulated. We are saying religious leaders are just people who chose a particular profession. They took a particular path. They are not different from a doctor who had a calling and then he became a doctor. So they'll be treated the same as any other professional.
So, Madam Commissioner, I mean, I think you and I have had this discussion before many years ago, but some of these people believe that they've been called. It's not a calling to be a doctor. They believe that they've been chosen, that they are a prophet of some kind. It becomes very difficult. I mean, there's obviously many, many cases of abuse. Think of the Umatoso case in the Eastern Cape, for example. I mean, that's a classic case. There are others like it. There's some more recently. It's very difficult for society to deal with these situations.
Society needs help. And we are saying Parliament must pass the relevant regulation, the relevant legislation that will say it's not business as usual around churches anymore. I said this over 8 years ago, whenever, but we're back because this thing then fell off the table for whatever reason. It's back on the table now, squarely, and we're going to be pushing it through. We're going to set up a Section 22 committee that will be made up of religious leaders who will help us push through the legislation in Parliament, convince parliamentarians that this thing needs to happen.
Okay, now she is claiming that just fell off the table from Parliament. I think what is more correct is that Parliament rejected that proposal on the report that was put forward in 2017. She was at the time the chair. She has now been reappointed, and she's now trying to push it forward. Now they claim to have a new proposal which is different, but I personally cannot see the difference of what they are proposing now versus what they proposed before. They would need to explain that, but we are going to see that from the new committee. This is something which has been tried before. It was tried by the Anglican Church in England, by the Lutheran Church in Germany, by the Three Self Church in China at the moment, and it was found to be a disaster because other groups were marginalized that did not want to be registered with the state, and individuals who were wanting to preach ended up in jail because the state didn't approve of them, such as John Bunyan, who wrote Pilgrim's Progress. And that is why the legal philosophers, Roger Williams in the 17th century, started the first state with separation of church and state, which was Rhode Island Colony in America, which was done in partnership with the Indians, actually not set up by the British Empire. And those ideas found their way through the philosopher John Locke into the American Constitution, which is the ancestor of our Constitution. They were also promoted by Andrew Murray, who was the great Christian leader for promoting the independence of church and state in South Africa. Now, let us listen to what Musa Gulu, who is the Christian sector chair of this committee, has to say. If we could have the second video, please.
On fake beliefs on the power of Christianity, also you find that when it comes to religious political parties, they will make sure that, for example, LGBTQ people are denied their rights, and every other queer people are denied the rights, because the thinking is that God created man in this image and woman in this image, and the reality is different from that kind of religious thinking. And therefore, it's not going to happen. I really pity the ACDP, because much as they try to find their space in the South African political space, it's not happening, because they're not understanding how society works. Society works differently from church. And even within your own church, you will not find a situation where everyone that then just votes for you because you have said so.
What does this now say about the infringement of the Constitution? Because surely political parties are meant to constantly uphold what the Constitution has to say about freedom of sexuality or in any other fashion, just the role that political parties should play in upholding the Constitution of South Africa.
Well, it's a good question. It's a pity that in South Africa today, it looks like only the ANC is concerned about the Constitution. What's happening is that political parties, as I said earlier, are looking at their own interests and not at the interests of the people of South Africa. So you'll find that, for example, when Al-Jamaa has issues with LGBTQ people, or ACDP has issues with compliance with the international standards of life, they are actually acting against the Constitution of South Africa, and it becomes problematic, because then imagine them being in power and then throwing the Constitution away, and what happens after that. So it's problematic. They expose themselves daily, and I think today they're also still going to expose themselves as being anti-Constitution, same as ethnic political parties.
So there you have the chair of the Christian sector for the CRL Commission expressing his political views just before the 2024 election. Now, to me, what is happening there, and what has also just happened, which is the CRL chair has just made criminal charges against the 4SA Christian lobby group spokesperson who criticized her. Imagine what is going to happen if one gives these people power to regulate our pastors. What are they going to do with that power? Are they going to allow you and me to operate? I think that's a really serious question, and I think we have to be ready to speak up against this. And I agree there is a problem of corruption in the church, and we need to fight that. But I don't think that the state is going to help us at all. So maybe we can have some comment from other people.
Thank you. Philip, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Those videos were very, very helpful. I think that Professor Musa Gulu should be assisted. He should be helped. He needs help. Somebody must tell the professor, I say he needs help. He needs to understand the difference between disagreement and anti-something. ACDP has never been anti-constitution. He's lying. That I can tell him in his face. He's lying. We have never been anti-constitution. We disagree with some clauses in the Constitution. And for that matter, I spoke in Parliament against what we don't like. South Africa is in a mess today because of the liberalism that has excluded values. ACDP proposed, among others, rights to be balanced with responsibilities. So he's happy to promote the ANC. You can tell he's an ANC member, he's an ANC supporter. Before the elections, he said only the ANC, which is not true at all. So he says, imagine throwing the Constitution out. We are responsible people. We are God-fearing people. If he doesn't fear God, let's tell him tonight, we are God-fearing people who respect the rule of law. When he was not even known as a professor, a question was asked, what form of state do you want South Africa to be? When the ANC said, we want to be a secular state, on behalf of the ACDP, I said, we want to be a constitutional state based on biblical principles. The ACDP believes in a constitutional state where there's a difference, we say, based on biblical principles. So that professor needs to be corrected and needs to be assisted. We are not even anti-LGBTQ, ZYA, Z, and all those alphabets. We are not against them. We disagree with them. It is a fact. ACDP believes that God created two genders, and nothing will change that. No CRL will make us or force us to change that. Whether you throw the Constitution at us, we will not change what we believe based on Scripture. Okay? I just wanted to throw in those comments that he is not telling the truth when he says we are anti-Constitution. It's not true. He's misleading and he's deceptive. All right. Manabeng, now I'm reading from what our people are saying, you viewers. The first comment comes from Manabeng Walter Mashilo. He says, this is very dangerous. Correct. She doesn't understand Christianity. She even called pastors professionals, children of darkness. Can't regulate children of light. That's from Love World. Very true, sir. God bless Manabeng. Now another comment from Lucas Nkosi. Lucas is saying, is the section 22 lawfully constituted? My reading of section 22 of the CRL Act of 2002 says it is to be constituted. Commissioners must be in it, and they can add outsiders or staff. Now he says, Honorable Stuart, can you please clarify that? Now, because he's very specific, Honorable Swartz, that question is directed to you, sir. Answer it before we move on, sir.
President, evening to you and DP, and thanks to Philip Rosenthal. Greetings to everyone. Very briefly, I've got section 22 in front of me, and I'll read it. It says, the Commission may establish one or more committees consisting of 1, members only, or 2, members and staff, or 3, other persons to assist the Commission in the performance of its functions. So, President, very briefly, the other persons includes other members that the Commission refers to. So it can be commissioners, it can be members and staff, and it can also consist of other persons. So that is my reading of section 22, President. I hope that is of assistance. Thank you so much. I think you're muted, President.
Thank you, Steve. Don't go too far because you're going to be next to come. What the CRL is trying to do is not going to happen. We have to say, as leaders, as Christians, we will not be regulated by sangomas as an example. As an example, we will not be. The Church of Jesus Christ will not be regulated by other religions or by sangomas or by the LGBTQ, who's their favorite. The church will not. So, not going to talk much about this today. We just want to say, not under our watch. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to say, not under our watch. We will wait for the hearings to take place, consultations to take place, and we will want to know who is there to listen, or who is sent to us to listen to us. Who is there sent to us by who, and who appointed them? This is not going to be resolved easily as the CRL think they are. No. It's, as they failed before, they will fail again. Because even Christians in South Africa who are not speaking out, they don't want to be regulated by people who walk in darkness. That's it. Let me leave it there. And